Well, we're about to get started. I think everyone's out of the waiting room. So just letting you know, this is being recorded. If you don't know me by now, I'm Sarah Zuetta, your governor-elect. And I wanted to introduce to you our guests this evening to our district, Rogena Woods Mitchell. She is our Kiwanis International, I guess you're a logistics specialist now, or I guess Regina will talk about what she's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's going to be
Yeah.
with us tonight to talk about the ins and outs of new club opening, but it's going to be a good discussion. So we have a small group, so feel free to, join in on that conversation and anything challenging that you find with new club opening or questions that you might have had, we will give you the opportunity to ask Regina. So Regina, thank you again for coming onto our Zoom and welcome to PA. And I'm going to turn it over to you. We currently have we're sharing the slide. So yeah. We'll put you on
Awesome.
the spotlight for everyone.
I do want to say, thanks, Governor-elect Sarah and the membership team for inviting me to the call tonight. I do want to kind of piggyback what Sarah mentioned, that this presentation is probably going to be a little different from what you're used to, because I want as much feedback and as much interaction as possible. I know you're here to hear all the ins and outs of club opening, and I'm very willing to share those, but I do want to get some feedback from you as far as, what this process means to you and what you foresee some of the challenges are going forward. So feel free to raise your hand and make a comment or put a note in the chat box, because we're going to entertain all of those in the time that as many as we can in the time that we have. So I also want to share that after this presentation, you're going to have questions. I totally get that. And I want you to know that I'm available to work with both of your teams to discuss club opening, in particular, the tasks that are associated with it, dive a little bit deeper. But today I really want to kind of talk about some of the basics, some of the foundations, as I would call it, of club opening. So let's go to our next slide. I realized that from my conversation with Governor Sarah that we have a varied level of participants with club opening experience. So we've got some folks that have opened clubs on the call. We've got some folks that have not opened clubs on the call. And we do have some folks that have a working knowledge of what club opening looks like. So you realize that with the 2 sites that we have and those that are going to be coming up in the near future, you realize that there are several tasks that are associated with club opening, from finding a site to interviewing the folks, the stakeholders in the community to determine if there's a need for a Kiwanis club, to putting together a contact list, doing some Google searches for that to find some of those folks that may be potential members, to actually going out and recruiting those members, whether you're doing it on Zoom like we're doing tonight, or if you're doing it face-to-face on a club opening effort. So you're doing that. You also probably are aware of the process of organizing a club, especially for those folks that have done this before. You've been to an organizational meeting, so you know that we elect officers at that initial meeting, and we kind of set the next event, their next meeting up for the club. So you kind of understand that process, as well as the process of involving the sponsoring club in the activity. But like I said, all these things are very task oriented. You have a job to do and you get it done, right? That's kind of how club opening works. It's very task oriented. However, for me, I think, club opening really has to have a good foundation for why we're doing the task that we're doing, right? I kind of liken it to, a kid in school. you tell them go down the hall and turn a left, and they're wondering, okay, I'll do it, but I don't know why I'm doing this, and what am I gonna face when I get to the left? And so club opening is kind of like that. And that's why tonight I really want to talk about what some of the foundational things that I think we really need to focus on as we approach those tasks. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. And I will say this: each of those tasks can be learned and developed. Each of those tasks can be learned and developed. There's nothing new under the sun. There's no magic bullet that says, okay, you can't do this. Everybody has a specific skill set, and those skill set can be used to open a club. But tonight we're gonna, like I said, talk about some of the foundational information. And so why am I doing this approach? Why am I, instead of talking about specific tasks in a whole bunch of details, why am I talking about foundation instead of talking about those specific tasks in detail? Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's really simple. I know Kiwanians who know how to open clubs. They know those tasks in and out. They just don't do it. I mean, they just can't get it done. So hence, for me, the importance is the foundation. If you don't recognize and understand the value of the process, the task won't get done. If you aren't prepared for the challenges that you're going to face through those tasks, you may attempt it one time, but if you're faced with a challenge, you're probably not going to do that again. Or if you don't know exactly what resources are out there for you to answer the questions that will come up, then you won't feel confident enough to open a club. So that's why I think this foundational information is so critical for opening a club. So that's what we're going to focus on today. I mean, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to really think about them. And I'd like you to, kind of share your responses. So let's kind of begin. Most of us weren't born into the Kiwanis family, right? Some were asked to join a club, and you may have participated in a service project, and that made you want to join, or you were a member of one of the service leadership programs like Key Club, and so you joined a Kiwanis club because of that. Or you may be like me, and you received a college scholarship from a Kiwanis club, and you decided once you graduated, you were going to join that club. So the reasons that we come to Kiwanis are varied, right? But regardless of those reasons, you stayed in the Kiwanis family. And you're also on this call because there's something about your Kiwanis experience that's keeping you here. There's some benefit that your Kiwanis experience is providing you. I mean, because I don't think that Sarah's paying you to be here, right? I mean, she is. Sarah, I totally take.
Just Tiffany.
And Amazon cards. We're expecting Amazon card in my email address tomorrow, man. But seriously, I want you to ask yourself some questions that we're going to go over, but I want you to be thinking about your Kiwanis experience, because that's going to really be integral to you having the desire, having the passion to go out and take that experience to a new community that you've never been in before, to talk to people on the phone that you've never talked to before. I mean, strangers, to spend time, because it does take time, to spend time in this club opening effort when you've got a ton of other things to do. So I want you to keep that experience in mind as we go forward. So let's go to the next slide and start asking some of these questions. So question number one, and again, keep in mind what your club experience is when you answer this. What do you feel are the benefits of club opening? What do you feel are the benefits of club opening? Now, again, keep in mind your own club experience. Oh, this is time for y'all to talk. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Feel free to unmute yourself, or you can put things in chat, but feel free to unmute yourself to answer some of these questions. So.
Oh, Barb Kiwanis completes me. Heart.
That's my hashtag.
I love it. So why don't you start? Tell us what you feel are the benefits of club opening. What do you think they are?
The impact that Kiwanis has in the communities with the individual groups, the individual folks, it really is, it should be in every community, and it's not. And we need to be able to share it. I always tell, the clubs in my region that Kiwanis is a gift and a legacy that we need to leave for communities, and we need to spread that. And to open more clubs gives us the opportunity to help more kids and support more action clubs and give leadership opportunities to key clubbers and to builders club. And that's why we need to open more clubs to spread it around. I know in region 2 we're kind of sparse, and it's like, oh, we could really use that, and I have a Kiwanis club in that area, and I'm faced with that a lot, and I don't want to be faced with that anymore. I want to say, yes, you can go here, here, here. So.
I love that. Share the Kiwanis love. Why don't you let's talk to somebody else, because you actually hit on several things that I'm gonna talk about in my next slide. So yay, Barb. What else? Tell me, because like I said, this is integral, folks. If we don't see the value of opening clubs, then we're not going to do it. I mean, it's just going to be like something that Sarah told us to do, and we're kind of like, whatever. I'm going to shake my head yes, but I'm doing nothing. And I'm just trying to be real about the situation, because I talk to districts all the time, and so what do you feel are the benefits of opening clubs?
Well, it's actually giving you, it's enabling you to spread your club's philosophy and the things that your club loves the most about Kiwanis, and like extends your reach, because each club that you would help open up, you're naturally going to share your philosophy and the things that you do and care about. So opening clubs is not only good for the clubs you're opening, it's also good for yourself, for your own club.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Cal, is it Cal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I like that, Cal. Because if you go to the next slide, the benefits of opening clubs are really threefold, but you can probably come up with a ton of other benefits for opening clubs, and Barb and Cal really hit on several. Cal just mentioned about sharing your philosophy. Under the club benefits, yeah, that's huge. This new club that you're looking to help open, they probably don't know a ton about Kiwanis, and so you getting out there, sharing your Kiwanis experience, sharing your club experience with this new community, with these new individuals, it's really going to shape how that club grows and develops. Barb mentioned several things about the community. Of course, we know because we're Kiwanis, how important and how impactful new Kiwanis clubs are for communities. But that community doesn't know that. They don't know what they don't know. And so, being able to share that is not just giving that new community and those kids benefit, but it's also giving us and our club experience benefit, because we're getting to share what we love, what we value, and what we have passion about. I will tell you an example of a personal benefit, and this is not warm and fuzzy at all, but you're going to encounter folks who will be looking for this in their club experience. I've actually joined Kiwanis kind of twofold, because I got the scholarship, but also I looked at the membership, and as a young budding marketing professional, I was like, dude, I'm going to grow my business. I mean, all these folks, are business professionals. They are, movers and shakers in the community, and I'm going to look at this as a business endeavor. Now, obviously, that's not the main reason why you join Kiwanis, but you need to know that that is a benefit that people are looking for. So if you can't share that, I mean, I have my insurance with a Kiwanian. My house is bought with a Kiwanian. I mean, these are the kind of personal benefits that you want to share with the folks that you're going to encounter. So club opening really has at least threefold benefits. But let's see what Miranda said. She said that they support communities, kids, service projects, and so much more. I like that. It sounds like a commercial. So much more. Especially now coming out of the pandemic. I think that's really important, because people want to give back to communities now. I mean, there's been so much that people need, and Kiwanis clubs kind of marry that need with support. So what's the benefit? You get an opportunity to help meet needs of communities where you might not have had that experience without your Kiwanis membership. So for me, if this is such a big part of club opening, if we don't see the value in doing it, then we're not going to. If we don't see the value in sharing our Kiwanis experience, we're not going to. And we're not going to get folks in our clubs and in our divisions and in our regions excited about it. So one of the things that I think we should do as Kiwanians is kind of think about what Kiwanis means to us. I mean, think about what your Kiwanis experience has been, because that's what you're going to need to feed on as you look at opening clubs. You got to know the benefit for yourself before you try to sell the benefit to somebody else. You got to know it for yourself. So let's talk about, next slide, something that I think is equally as important, because you can love your Kiwanis family, you can share that Kiwanis love and in a new community and with new individuals who don't know about Kiwanis, but the first time you get a challenge, you might tuck tail and run. So my next question is going to be, and this is particularly for the folks who may not have opened clubs before. What do you foresee will be some of the challenges to the club opening process? And I want you to still think about your own club experience when you think about this. Think about, your club engaging in a service project. What are some of the challenges that you face there? Your club in communication, what are the challenges that you face there? I want you to bring that experience to answering this question. So what are some of the challenges that you foresee in this club opening process? My dog's barking in the background. Sorry, guys and gals.
Hi.
What do y'all think? Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
Ashley.
yes. And I think I'm experiencing it right now. So I have located 2 locations, and I have spoken to potential secretary. I haven't gotten, all the officers yet, but slowly bringing people together. And one of the things that that I'm experiencing, I would call it a barrier. And
Okay.
I think it has to do with my emotions and fear and anticipation. And that's what I'm going through right now.
All right. So what is the fear of?
So some people say, yes, we want to open the club and thing. And I'm thinking, so I've never opened a club before. So I'm thinking, do I have the tools, so maybe
Gotcha.
that may be some of the things, it's not that I'm asking for an easy answer with a box of things, step 1, step 2, tool 1, tool 2, or, so maybe it's there and I'm not putting the 2 together, but I feel for number 1 question, I feel that and I live that, and it's easy to talk to people and everything like that. But just, and understanding that people have differences, I don't want to bring people together and then this one embarrass the other one, or, so I anticipate things like that, so.
And those are valid. I'm gonna tell you right now, those are valid. First and foremost, when it comes to the challenge of opening the club, putting the right people together, so to speak. And I don't want you to think that I'm being flippant in my answer,
No.
but you can't gauge that. You're not going to be able to figure that out. You're going to have to ask as many people as possible and let the club figure out their culture. And let me give you a good example of that. So I just opened a club, and I'm going to answer the second question next that you had. I just opened a club, right? And my vision for this club was that it was going to be kind of a grouping of individuals from a large geographic area, which would cover 2 cities within a county, all right? Because the actual location for the club meeting was in the county. So it wasn't in a municipality. So I pulled all these people together from all over. Well, once we organized, the club members decided, yeah, no, we don't want that kumbaya global experience. We are all about this one community. And, we love that those people that are outside of this community want to help our children, but like we want to do it on our own.
Okay.
I would never have known that. And so you can't worry about that because it may happen, it may not happen. What I've done as a result is those people that wanted the Kumbaya Global Experience, they are transferring to a Kumbaya Global Experience club that they are organizing on their own. So it's 2 clubs out of 1, but I would never have known that. And if I had kind of stifled myself into asking certain people, then I probably would probably wouldn't have gotten 2 clubs out of the deal, first and foremost. And Secondly, I probably would have kind of minimize the experience overall. Because those
Okay.
folks that are opening their club did not know anything about Kiwanis if I didn't bring them into this group. So that's the first thing. You can't be worried about the unknowns, because the unknowns are the unknowns. Now, as far as the tasks for opening a club, it's totally understandable for you to be nervous about the tasks if you don't know the task. But I'm going to tell you, the tasks are very simple. You find a site, you determine if the site is viable, i.e., does it have a Kiwanis club? Do they have needs for kids? You develop a list of potential members, doing a Google search. You then start reaching out to those members by setting appointments. You go to those appointments, you get at least 15 people, and you organize a club. So those processes, those tasks don't change. It doesn't matter what the community is.
Okay.
And we can go into a lot of detail about how you make a phone call, how you set an appointment, who you're looking for as far as potential members for a club. I mean, we can go into the weeds on that, but as far as the process, learning the process, once you get familiar with it, it won't be a challenge anymore, because it's the same thing. Whether it's this community or that community, it's the same thing.
And just to interject, Joy, Tiffany and I will follow up with you after this call, and maybe set up a meeting to help you with some of that, some of the process questions you may have, and maybe it won't make you feel maybe less nervous about it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yes.
so we'll walk you through that. So, Tiffany, Matt, and I, we're here for you, and anyone obviously when we go through this process, for sure.
Okay.
So
Definitely.
Tiffany will shoot you an email for that.
Yeah, and like I said, I am available to do one-on-one or small group trainings on specific aspects of each of the tasks, or a group of tasks. I'm definitely willing to do that. Barb said that she's a little nervous about closing the deal, collecting dues, and getting the actual application. You are right on the money with like probably 98% of the folks that open clubs, Barb. So you are in big company. One thing that we're able to do fairly well is talk about Kiwanis. We talk about our clubs and our activities and the things that we do, and we get really excited about that. And when we're talking to a potential member of a new club, we get real excited about that. We talk about it, as we should. But one thing we have to remember is our club is not their club. So as you're talking to people about Kiwanis in a new community, it's really important that we listen. Listen for what are the needs that they see in this community. What are their skill set? What are the things that they want to do in a new club environment? Because when you allow them to tell you what's important to them, closing the deal is really a no-brainer, because they've actually sold themselves. All you have to do is explain to them, well, I see that you want to work with kids. I see that, you are a business professional. So, you want to see that your community grows. That's what Kiwanis is all about. We'd love to have you in the club. Here's the application. And let them fill it out. We know it's like radio silence, but that's the way it goes.
Mhm.
You let them sell themselves on Kiwanis, because what you don't want at the end of the day is someone to feel like you have sold them. I mean, no one gets excited when they go to the car dealership and they feel like they've been sold, right? You want to feel like, you had a stake in that process. So being nervous about closing the deal, I totally get it, because we are very prone to share our experience to the point that sometimes our experience is not going to look anything like their experience. And if we sell them our experience, we might have persuaded them not to join Kiwanis because our experience may not look like what theirs is. Now, as far as collecting the dues, once they've sold themselves, especially when you're talking to business professionals, they understand that club membership requires some kind of financial commitment. In fact, for the most part, any professional kind of gets that. I mean, after all, people even expect you to pay to go to church. You know, I mean, there's a whole tithe thing. I'm not going to go into that, but there is a level of financial expectation. And what I like to share with them, Barb, is this. You know, there's a lot of things that you're going to be able to do in your new club for your community that can be done with sweat equity. You know, reading to kids, if that's something you want to do, you don't have to pay to do that. You know, but having insurance to go into the schools is going to be integral. So that's why we collect a nominal fee in order for you to be a member of the organization. And once you talk to them about what those dues look like, you tell them what they are, obviously, whatever y'all are charging for new clubs. Typically it's $100 or whatever. But once you tell them what the application of those dues are, it's just like selling themselves. You know, the dollar amount is the dollar amount. That's not going to change. But once they see what that dollar amount actually means, then the dollar amount is nominal. And they'll go ahead and either write the check or pay with a credit card. So did that answer your question a little bit?
It did. I mean, you know, certainly in theory, I get all of that. It's just, you know, and maybe
you got to do.
Yeah, maybe I get emotions in the way I understand, you know, money's tight and, you know, and I guess that's kind of where I'm kind of stuck. And, you know, and you don't want to, you know, it's a value and it's not that big of a deal because it's not that much money, but sometimes for some people it may very well be too much. So I think that's where I struggle, and that just might be a personal struggle that I have.
No, it's not just you. I'm telling you, 98% of people have this issue. This is the biggest issue for most people with opening clubs, is closing the deal and collecting money. But I had a Kiwanian tell me one time, Rogena, unless you're willing to pay for everyone's dues, you're going to have to get over that. When he told me that, it was like, oh yeah, okay. I'm going to have to figure out how I can sell this to them without feeling like, holy smokes, you know, because I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of people that have a lot more money than me that dress a lot more modest than I do. And they have a lot more money than me. So you can't always judge a book by the cover. And once, again, one of the things that I want to recommend to you and to the group, as a matter of fact, is all these things that we're talking about, I want you to practice those with your club members and other people, you know, because if you can do this, the process of asking for the check, the process of letting them talk about what Kiwanis would mean to them, if you can do that with your friends, you're more likely to be able to do it with someone that you don't. So let's see. Getting coaches to support them for 2 years at a minimum. Yeah, that's a big challenge. That is a big challenge. One way that I have determined to kind of minimize that, because it's it's not going away, first of all. But is to, again, sell the value. I think that a lot of Kiwanians, and this is kind of a sad commentary, and maybe this is just my experience, but I'm going to share it. I think a lot of Kiwanians don't appreciate what their club does for them personally, for their community, overall. I mean, we go to the meetings, we do the service. Yay, we do that stuff, right? But we don't realize how much that impacts us and how much that impacts the kids, really. It's become a task-oriented thing. And so when we're going to sponsoring clubs to talk to them about being a sponsor for a new club, sometimes we have to remind them about what's important to them. Is it important to leave a legacy for a whole new community? Or did you just forget how much your club has done in the community and what the community would look like if your club didn't exist? We don't want that experience for this new community, right? So first and foremost, it's getting the club itself to get on the sponsorship bandwagon. Once you do that, I think getting the club coaches to participate for 2 years is less difficult once they really buy into the fact that, okay, yeah, I really do want to do this. And the beauty is having at least two club coaches per new club, so that one person does not feel like they are bearing all the responsibility of teaching and guiding this new club. So if you can, and in that, I often like to ask, who do you want to work with? I mean, I know that you want to be a club coach, but who would be your go-to in your club? You know, sometimes we pick people to be club coaches, right? I'm gonna tell you, if you let a club coach pick their partner, they're probably going to be more successful, because people like to work with people that they like and they trust. So let them pick who they want to have as their partner in the club coaching experience. Let me see about any more questions before we go on to the next one. Anything else? That was primarily for the folks who have not opened clubs before, but feel free if you've opened clubs and you've got some issues and you've got some challenges that you want to share. I like the idea of having two new club coaches, spreading the wealth. Absolutely. I mean, you can have more than two. I like to recommend, especially for our new clubs, that the sponsoring club officers adopt each of the new officers for the new club. Because just because you're a club coach, this is what I've determined, just because you're a club coach doesn't mean you've actually ever been a secretary of the club, ever in life. And the new club's going to need a secretary. And if I got two club coaches that have never been secretaries, then that's going to be a struggle bus for the new club. So I recommend that when we're talking to these sponsoring clubs, get the officers involved. You know, let them know, hey, I want you to share your wealth of knowledge with this new secretary, with this new treasurer, because you know all the ins and outs, right? So I think that's probably a best practice, and we don't do that enough. We depend on our club coaches to do all of it, and then that's why they feel like the process is so daunting, because they're just like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I don't, this is a lot for me. So let's move on to the next slide. So we've talked about some of the foreseeable concerns or challenges that we may face or have faced in club opening. But let's dive a little bit deeper into that, because there are roadblocks in club opening. I do not want to give you the impression that you can do this without having some challenge, without having some roadblocks. And So let's talk about those. And this is particularly for the folks who have opened clubs before. What are the roadblocks that you've actually experienced in club opening? I know we've had a couple people to mention, like club coaches and stuff like that, but what other roadblocks are some of my experienced folks seen out there in the club opening world? Reluctance to commit,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah, this is
Setting it.
Tiffany. We've had good experience with opening clubs and then not so good. And the not so good is where, like, exactly like Matt said, if you get your 15 and you get set and you're all excited to go, and then they just slowly just stop, meeting or stop doing things, and they're not really, buying into the Kiwanis as you thought they would have in the beginning. And then it just slowly starts to go away. And then all of a sudden you don't have a club anymore. So we've had that, as well as having a good experience with it.
Oh, great. I want to talk about two of those things, because when you said reluctance to commit, I really thought you were talking about reluctance of the sponsoring club to commit. But Tiffany, I think that's really important. One of the things that I see with new clubs, especially once they're opened, is that even though we have club coaches, like the group kind of walks away. The club's open, dude, I'm so done with that. I'm tired. I need a nap, right? I mean, we kind of walk away from the experience, and the new club may flounder. Like I said, some of the club coaches may not have all that much experience, but they want to help. And so, they might not know what they don't know and not know where to get it. So they might get a little frustrated. The new club definitely doesn't know. So they're frustrated. So now you've got a new club that's floundering. You've got club coaches that are frustrated, and it's just recipe for disaster. One thing I want to recommend is that new clubs constantly think about membership. Now, I know we said 15 new members to open a club, and that is the minimum to do it. I never recommend that we stop there. One thing we have to constantly do as new club coaches and new club openers is to constantly keep on the mind of the new club. You're going to need new members. You're going to need more members. You're going to need more people. And you can set the expectation, give them the reality. In a year, we're going to have 3 people to quit. I hate it. But that's the reality. We want this club to be successful. So we're going to have to constantly be recruiting. But new members aren't going to know how to do that. So that's where our club coaches, but that's also where our district membership leaders and our lieutenant governors can help them. Every club that we've opened has a contact list that we generated, right? It's got a whole bunch of people from the community that we went out to visit with and engage. Well, it's rare that we get to see all those people. That's just like never happens. So that new club already has a pool of new people that they can reach out to join this new club. I mean, you can't get past the reluctance to commit. There's gonna be some fallout. You got to go that going into the deal. Somebody's gonna quit. In a year, somebody's gonna quit. I hate it, but somebody's gonna quit. So this club needs to always be thinking, I need new members. I need new members because somebody's gonna quit. I want to keep them, but somebody's gonna quit because it doesn't fit into their schedule. It's their job changed, they moved, something's going to happen. They had a baby, something's going to happen, and somebody's going to quit the club. So they've always got to be thinking membership, 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 because if they don't think membership, 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 they're not going to be able to think service, service, service. Because in 5 years, if that new club has not been thinking membership, 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 they're going to have 10 people, maybe 8 in 5 years. I mean, that's the sad reality. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. These are statistics. So they need to be constantly thinking about that. And if they're doing those things, Tiffany, they're committed. If they're going out to get new members, they're in it. So I think one of the things important for new clubs is to get them doing things, get them bringing new members into the club so that their club experience is going to be such that they feel like they're getting value. Remember, we talked about value and benefit earlier? Same thing with a new club. They got to feel like that $100 was worth it. Like they're actually doing stuff. So club coaches need to really be helping the new club think long-term, 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. Where are we? How many members do we have? Did we grow? How many service projects did we do? What value are you getting for your membership? So I think we always need to be selling value, Tiffany. I think we always need to be selling value. And we as Kiwanians don't do that enough. I'm talking about just in our own club experience. We don't share the value of Kiwanis. I mean, I'm sporting Kiwanis gear on a regular, because I value my membership. I want somebody to come up to me and ask me, what is Kiwana? What? I want them to do that so that I can tell them all about my club experience and how important it is for them to get involved. So that was a long answer to a very short question. So what are some other roadblocks that we think we might experience?
I think a little bit what Tiffany was saying, but in terms of building, what I found is they get lost in the charter process and they immediately want to just do service, which is great. But then they have meetings to talk about what they want, but everyone has so many different ideas. I think in hindsight, I should have just created the service project. I didn't do that in one club because I wanted them to select because it's their club and they should know. But I've done enough. At that point, we had already done all that community research. So we could have developed a small service project and we set it up so they didn't feel like they had to set it up.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, they find it was so administrative top heavy. So we want to make sure, I think in hindsight, to make sure that new club opening team takes on some of that administrative burden because we know the ins and outs where it's so new to them. We're throwing immediately on organization. It's okay, here's the bylaws, here's your officers, here's the payments, you're going to get this much back. And, then we have the charter ceremony and it's a lot. I think, I think in my last one, I took over the charter ceremony because it was just, I wanted them to focus on the service. I mean, they were a part of it in terms of what speakers do you want? Where do you want to have it? That kind of stuff. But the programming part, I thought our team in our region 7, we took that on us. So they didn't have to be burdened with that. So just knowing to take some of that administrative can remove some of that roadblocks for them that they feel like we want to do service. We just keep having meetings about bylaws, which they don't, it's not very sexy, but it's just, it has to be done.
How to do it though. Yeah.
So that is a roadblock.
I think that's why,
we lost a member for that.
And that's why, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I said earlier, and somebody just mentioned it and I really appreciate it. We just walk away. And I'm not just saying that for the KI team. I think that sometimes once we get it done on the district level, we just walk away. and now you've got this club that's trying to figure it out. I have a good example of a club in Louisiana right now where they had 3 club coaches Neither one of them were very familiar with club coaching, didn't realize that they needed to participate in the new club. And, for the last 6 months, I've been working back and forth with the lieutenant governor, to help her develop this new club into what they can be. But I do think that when we start the club opening process from the district level, we need to set the expectation with our lieutenant governors, with our club coaches, that this is the expectation. I don't expect you just to be there for 2 years. Like, you can be on paper for 2 years. I expect you to actually be a part of the club process for 2 years. You're going to be connecting your sponsoring club with this new club. You're going to be providing feedback. The club's going to be working together doing service projects. You're not just on paper. You've got to be actively engaged. And I will say, as far as the KI team is involved, and I'm not making excuses, I'm just giving reality. Prior to COVID, at any given time, we would have 5 club openings to 7 club openings going on at one time, and we do our, and there's only 3 of us, by the way, there's only 3 of us. And, we do strive to stay in contact with the lieutenant governor of the club, of the division that the club was opened in, with the club openers and things of that nature. But we're going to do our best to train the district so that the district can take some ownership of that process. And Pennsylvania is a great example of doing that. But there's a lot of districts out there that, they walk away when we walk away. And it really shows in the new club's attendance, in their membership, in their service. But at the end of the day, we're always here. We're always here. If you need anything, call us. We don't want you to be out there floundering. Call us. That's our job. So, Barb, can we go over that on our site, team meetings? I don't know what she's talking about, but I guess you do, Sarah. Okay, all right.
Yeah, we got it.
Gotcha. All right. So I have many questions on the charter process. I like many questions. Again, the charter process is very task oriented. I'm going to send Sarah the checklist, because it's literally, you check these things off. Okay, have we done the bylaws? Did we elect officers? Do we have at least 15 paid members? There's a checklist. So we can do a presentation just on that. We can train you just on that if Sarah wants me to. No big deal. But yes, we do have all of it. So now that we've covered the roadblocks, we've talked a little bit about, next slide, how we get around those roadblocks. But I'm going to tell you this. Some of the things that we face in our club opening process have to do with the fact that we weren't prepared. All right. And I'm just putting it out there. We weren't prepared. I have been in that boat before, where I wasn't prepared for the new club to open. And the best way that we can get around that is just to do it. You're going to have to know those tasks in and out. You're going to have to, thank you for putting that in the thing. That was on the next slide. You're going to have, Matt, you're going to have a team. And that's another roadblock that I think we struggle with. We take it on ourselves, and by the end of it, we're just like so exhausted that no, we can't help the new club after it's open because we're exhausted from opening the new club. You've got to learn to work with a team. If you've got some folks that love to talk on the phone to strangers. Hey, they need to be on phone duty. They're making appointments. If you know somebody that hates talking on the phone, but they're online all the time, they might be great to do the Google search to start getting members' names and contact information that we can call on to set appointments. I mean, if you're one of these penthouse kind of folks where, you're not in the weeds, but you see the big picture, you might be great to lead this team effort. So don't take it all on yourself, or you're going to be struggling with this process. For me, that is the biggest roadblock, that we try to take too much on ourselves and we struggle, and it becomes not the fun, exciting thing that we want to do, right? So the next question is, what resources do we need? And I really appreciate Matt for putting that in there, because that was one of the links that I had. But I don't want to just share a link with you. I want you to utilize us as your club opening team for KI. I want you to utilize Tiffany and Nat and all the folks that are on your district. No, you didn't steal my thunder. That was fabulous. I want you to utilize the folks on the team who have experience and can help you through this process. The resources are there. I mean, they're out there. We have President Art Riley put together a club opening team of volunteers, and on that link, there's actually a guide. It's a electronic guide that you can go through, and it's got videos in there, how to set appointments, all of that stuff. The information, the resources are there. But if you want me to come and do a personal Zoom on how to set an appointment, let's go through it. I can totally do that. That's what consider me your membership dollars at work. Your membership dollars at work. So Sarah, if you don't mind, I want to open the floor up to questions now. You can go to the end because it's got my contact information. And we have 1 minute left, right? Do we have 1 minute or no? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So
What questions do you all have?
Yeah, what questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now. I know there's questions out there.
He talked a lot about the challenges. I think that was helpful.
I know this has been recorded. But Sarah, do you think it's possible to get that resource link sent out to everybody on the call?
Yep, we could do that.
So that
and it's actually in the PowerPoint too, Cal.
I was going to say that, but with Matt stealing your thunder, I didn't want to suggest anything else.
What we could do is when the recording is ready, we could send that out to all of leadership and then include obviously the link as well, Cal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My area is one of the areas that we're focusing on the new club. And I've sat through a few of these trainings, and every time I learn a little bit more, and it's just, okay, just pull the trigger and do it and see what happens. Kind of ready, fire, aim is how I'm kind of looking at this. And so, yeah, I mean, I actually tried to open up this club a couple of years ago, and I didn't follow these things. I tried something a little different, didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. But we're going to give it another shot, and it is really a good opportunity. And I think we're going to have some success this time. So.
I love it. I love it because you got to be confident about it, Barb. You got to go in there, even if you make mistakes, because, okay, I've done this before, but I've made a ton of mistakes. All right. So, I am a perfect example of what not to do on club openings sometimes. But you got to have the confidence to just go in there and say, you know what, this community needs Kiwanis.
Yep.
So come hell or high water, we're going to figure it out, Can you speak to the challenges posed by starting an e-club versus a traditional or in-person club? Absolutely. First and foremost, the process is no different. How you implement the process does vary. Like I said, the finding a site, the talking to the stakeholders in the community to find the need, putting together the contact list, setting appointments, recruiting, organizing the club, all those are the same, whether it's an internet club or a traditional club. How you do those things is where the variation happens. Because if you are opening an online club, you're probably not going to be meeting people face to face. You may be, but for the most part, you probably won't. So you're going to be using Zoom or GoToMeeting or Google Meet or some kind of other platform. So you need to be well versed and familiar with those platforms in order to do that. You also need to be familiar with the features of those platforms because you're going to be using those to get people to fill out their applications, or you can fill it out as you share the screen, just like we're doing today. You can have an application up on the screen right now, and you can be telling me what your contact information is, and I can be typing it in. You also need to be familiar with taking payments online, because those are the things that you need to do virtually if you're going to do an internet club. How the service is done, the service is typically done online or individually. I know that I'm in an internet club and we have a theme every quarter. And like, for instance, this theme this quarter is reading to kids. And so my service hours will be reading to kids or some kind of literacy focused thing. So when we get to our club meeting once a month, we give our service hours and that's our thing. Every club is going to be different. But the process for opening a club is not different. You still have to do those things. They still have to have 15 people to organize a club. You still have to have officers, but how you do it is a little bit different. I hope that answers that question. I can't see who that was that asked that. Sean, Spike. Yeah, I hope that answered that. Like, we're looking at hybrid meetings when we come out of the pandemic. Are we possibly looking at hybrid clubs? That's really what's trending now is, if your club is meeting and you're in a place where you can't, meet with a large group inside yet, you're probably doing hybrid. Has Kiwanis designated a hybrid club? No, because technically it's a traditional club that meets in person and online. So we haven't designated a certain category as hybrid yet. Don't know that we will, but stranger things have happened. Did I answer those two questions? Were there any more? Yeah, if you look on that link, there's a really cool video that Brian Tenthlinger and I did. And it was really all about doing an interview online. And I slid the application on the screen, filled it out and all that kind of stuff. So that's how we did it. And that's how you would probably do it if you were opening an internet club. All right, I'm way over my minutes now. I'm like 6 minutes over my minutes.
Thank you, Regina, for joining us. It was good. It was very informative for everybody, and I think we got a lot of good discussion.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you got my contact information. So if
Yeah.
anybody needs to reach out, for any detailed stuff, I mean, I'm here, like legit, I'm here.
Thank you, Regina. And I know for the PA team, I know we have some follow-up with the Danville team, and we will follow up with Barb and your team for North Side in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And Tiffany will follow up with Joy Ashley on the 2 clubs, potential 2 clubs. So, and then I'm sure Tiffany can't wait for our next quarter regional call. So membership. So we'll get that going at some point. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.